when it comes to cultivating long-term relationships, you will do this with people and mystics who love and expand you to be whole and secure, because that's where your inner and outer well-being lie, as we've been discussing. So empowered relationships, they're about love because you have people who care about their inner child, and they're a reparented one with earned secure attachment, or they're one that didn't get lost. So whole self securely attached people and mystics, we say yes to connection, and we say yes to ventral vagal, and we say yes to all of that, which is a smart and more group of therapists, neuroscientists, neurobiologists, and so on and so forth. And when this happens, you're easily able to know there's no energy vampires for the mystics, and that's where mystic mentor for spiritual growth and mastery. There's no need for protection. The 3D 4D body type, on the other hand, I call them body types because they're doing this stuff so they don't learn how to get out of pseudo aliveness, which is actually not aliveness. And as Bezel van der Kolk has pointed out in a recent short that I shared on Instagram, people that have had the beginning of their life with a dysregulated household environment, their default mode network only works when they're being put into the very same situations that caused their terror. So, the good news is everyone has the capacity to get healed, and the smart ones are going. Personality disorders, people with childhood trauma, smart human beings who care about themselves, and then they care about us. The ones who are concerned with a bunch of superhero, supervillain stories, they continue to use platforms to make up a bunch of stories for the same non-bilaterally integrated pseudo-live people who I get to spot 4D mystics. Humorous to say the least. So cultivate long-term relationships with people who care. And caring means that I care about my 3-year-old, my 1-year-old, and it's not, I find it hard to believe. No, it's I'm going to get out of feeling alive in dysregulated, chaotic relationships that are unhealthy, situations that are destabilizing, because I don't have to live my childhood and or whatever and however that trauma stuff came around. Okay, so it's not let me pity you. No, you have the opportunity. So when people get presented the good information, we share it. If somebody doesn't want to believe in it, they don't believe in it. They don't choose compassion. They don't choose healing. They just don't choose that which is really straightforward in our day and era, the year 2025. And so with that being said, to cultivate long-term relationships is an investment that you and I decide to do thanks to me having a bounty full of experiences. What I can tell you is facade people are just as sweet as can be. They're not going to be romantic partners, because if you have healthy self-worth, self-soothing, self-regulation, you know how to regulate in your ventral energy in the absence of another human being. So they're not going to be any safe haven, secure base for you when you are consistently enjoying life. No, they're going to have a mood, and more than just a mood. They're going to continue to do what is adaptive child parts behavior, these little boxing gloves, and or maladaptive patterns of behavior. So in all ways, shapes, or forms, a person who doesn't take the responsibility to get their whole inner child alive at this point in, again, our time, and for IHP, we're going to just allow ourselves to remember friends, awesome. Partners, no, because as Terrio points out, partnership as grown-ups is with our health in mind, and that's because we can use two sides of the brain, and we have long-term. And we're smart enough to understand how being internally securely attached is your health. Because again, it is possible for everybody who puts their 2 hands and 2 feet forward, and like God shared with me, scooch, 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 you can do it proactively. And really what you find amazing once they're finally out of pseudo-aliveness is how amazingly happy they are to feel alive and one and whole in their body. Okay, so wholeness, for example, when you have it, you don't lose it because you got emotionally unavailable and immature men, in my case. No, there's a very clear awareness of when you're meeting someone who struggles to be participating in what is supposed to be a relationship. You can't have a relationship without having a alive body who's emotionally alive in here and then mentally completely. It's sad to say, they could be differently. There's a bunch of people who could use Patrick Tiahan. They actively allow themselves to make sense of relationships that are toxic, exactly the way Patrick Tiahan has presented in more than one occasion on his community page. And again, I completely have seen it as it takes place, and I've tried to share those lovely pieces of information with people who do not care to hear it. They care to be the mystics that they are, or the people who are know-it-alls, but they don't care to notice how they wake up in the morning and how they have plenty of time to go and get themselves into a higher self. Okay, so cultivate long-term relationships with those who you do know are working with love in the forefront and wholeness and their secure attachment. Obviously, you take note of yours, and you'll know if you're here, because every day, if you're waking up more exuberant as you process emotions and thoughts with the inner growth mindset, mindfulness, and mindset practices, bliss and ecstasy are what happen as you choose non-reactive ventral vagal, and that's because you get to contemplate with your human secondary consciousness, might I add. So while there are those who still have a human dilemma going on, for those of us at HP, it's a human condition, and it's called expansion consciousness. So people who care about long-term, that's why they're going to care about their long-term relationships with healthy, self-regulating, self-soothing people who bring to them in-depth emotional, mental, and physical conversations and allow themselves to continue on the intelligence. Okay, so intellectually, we love to learn, and we can bring science to spirituality without saying it's confusing shit, because that's not the case for smart people. We also care about our human herd, so as we do care, we keep sharing and showing what it is to be people who know how you're not rewiring the brain of somebody in a way of changing. This is why philosophy and religion people, or whoever it is that thinks that decentralization and healing is not natural, they don't have the clarity of we're all supposed to be feeling wholeness. Now, the way they twist it is that some people are not meant to be whole. Like, this is why they completely twist things in a way that is stating, I choose divisiveness. Every person can have a whole self, can achieve that wholeness according to all that is being found. They don't have to, but when you have a whole sense of self and you own it, that's when you're going to have well-being. Otherwise, you can keep on doing that human suffering narrative, and those people who are saying it's not an option, again, we know who they are, where they're at, and as for the bigger picture of the world, we get smart people in the doors, we get smart things going, we get things done, as we always have. But long-term means that you care about your health, which means you also care about what you bring to the table, which is why you'll take yourself seriously, and you'll take everything that is healing trauma seriously. And that's with mystics. So when I have spotted the 4D, they don't take any of it seriously. They're too busy with their narratives. But as Peter Levine points out, imagine a bird with a broken wing, and you say, I can help you. And that bird goes towards a cave with the cat. So this is the part. Their brain is used to only being alive when they're in dysregulated environments, but the information is out there of how that is their unresolved trauma. So the equations are clear, and the ones who are getting it together, they're finding communities of people to heal with and to be completely not projecting their dysregulation, but instead having the ones of us who keep each other accountable, because healthy self-worth people do it that way. I'm going to repeat my message in a equanimous way, in a polite way, with integrity, with humility, with firmness, but I won't be in a aggressive firmness. That's for an empowered feminine. Empowered masculines might have a different tone, but everybody has their own. Long story short, make sure to notice who's healthy self-worth. Great. That's where romance can be something you bring, because you're equally invested in your long-term life to the best of your ability as healthy people, but also you take seriously being able to speak truthfully and in a nice way, because the reality is Cusco is just unpleasant completely and unnecessary, and also they lack that self-awareness, and they are aggressive when you presented them something, because they lack self-awareness with lacking accountability of get out of that fucking protective mode. They don't know it because they don't know how to regulate out of it. Now, and so when they say, I found it hard to believe them first few years of life, that means they disregard your default mode network didn't get what it was supposed to get when you first started. So you're playing something out that's from your 0-3 years old age, implicit memory. No, this isn't the place to play it out. Also, you could completely disengage from it and be a person who has aliveness inside instead of pseudo-aliveness. and actually get smart, because you own your mind, your brain, and yourself. And see, smart is stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. But really, if you don't have bilateral, vertical, and overall integration, and I meet you, I'm going to notice it, because at a certain point, it's easy, confusing shit is going to come out somewhere. You can't hide an adaptive child, because they're burning inside to have to share their opinion. At one point or another, that inner child is going to make themselves seen. And also there's insecurity. So between shame, blame, fault, revenge, envy, jealousy, spite, and all Cusco's tricks, or the squirrel's tricks, again, it's not something that you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so offended. There's Lucifer out there. Energy vampires. No, it's going to be, you have bad manners, and that's it. And today it's biologically rude people. Thank you, Stephen Porges. They don't know what they're doing. So we forgive. I know I do. Jesus taught it to me. God did too. And so did Holy Spirit and Akash and universe and everything. And my mom and my twin and my lovely sister and all my family members. But we forgive each other. And like said Manny and Diego, we have a good time. We have different personalities. But we know healthy self-regulation and healthy self-soothing. That's the difference. And so we actively pursue our health and not staying dysregulated for no other reason except for you're ignoring valuable information, and to reparent your inner child, which means to learn how to navigate your higher self, not your teenager self. And again, the therapists are doing a great job at helping anyone. So we'll be back potentially with more, or potentially not. In the meantime, allow yourselves to share that which is I love to love, and my baby, he loves to dance, and he loves to learn, he loves to expand and not cast stones, he, she, it, or they. And with a pocket full of starlight in a starless dark night, you may want to hold him, her, or they, and that way you can shine a shiny bright star, and together you can have a good time. We'll be back again with more. Have a good one.